Sure. Leon Martin is a graduate from the Corncob College, as his father would say, the School of Hard Knocks. Just a farm boy and mechanic by dad in Southern Illinois. From 1972 to 1986, Leon assisted and built and developed Martin's Auto Service in Southern Illinois. And from 1986 to 2006, Leon built new facilities, Martin's Auto Service in 1986 to 2006 in Versailles, Missouri, both of which are still thriving today. In 2006, Leon Martin moved to Rochester, Washington to assist the local auto service and working out of a small 29 by 40 shop area with a miniature office area. He has steadily grown the sales average over a 20% increase per year for 8 years straight. April 2014, they began gutting out the old sandblasting repair shop that was landmark in the community. They had a very good working relationship with the county and were able to open for business by October the 14th, 2014. What a blessing to be up and running with over a 4,000 square foot retrofitted new facility to a 2 million annual sales in 2019 and an 8-bay facilities on 4 acres of property. Leon is very versatile in seeing options when others can't see the way clear. Leon is willing to share information to assist in any way he can and believes in the ethics of honesty and putting people ahead of money. Thanks for being here, Leon.
Thank you. That was a little bit overdone, but I'll say thank you to everybody that's present here. I do appreciate the opportunity to share. If there's anything I can do to help anyone, that's my passion. So I'm happy to see Dave Shadeen here too. And I would say part of my success I owe to him because he's been very good at what he does as well. I'm ready to share screen. Is that right, Brenda? Yeah, okay.
Okay, can you see the green button, Leon?
No, I cannot. It's totally gone. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get it back. I do not know what went awry. I see your face, Brenda.
Okay. Let me.
It should be on the Zoom.
So Leon, if you move your cursor down to the bottom of the screen,
Yes.
it should pop up, and right in the middle it'll say share screen.
Yes, that's how it had been till you got done with the disclaimer and then it went away. Oh, I got it now. All right.
Okay.
Can you see that, the little train that could?
There we go.
All right. So once upon a time, here we go. We all know about the little train that could, if only. You all remember that story that was written in the 1940s, especially if you got a little gray hair. Most of you have had that as a child. And that train had an issue of getting the load of toys over to the girls and boys over the hill. If only the new passenger train would help, and if only the freight train would help, and if only the rusty old engine would help, but none of them would help. So they went through all the processes of asking and wasting time trying to get over the mountain, but there was just no process that worked. The freight train wouldn't assist, the rusty old engine said he can't do it, and the shiny wouldn't do it. But there was a solution that was outside the box, and that switching engine that was over there in the yard that never really did this before he attempted it and made it successful. So today we face a lot of if onlys in our businesses, in our homes, and so on. And I like to consider the face if only. We face all that, and if only we would have a solution. I think having an SOP is the goal of my discussion here today. If we have an SOP for the frustrations we face in business, it removes a lot of the frustration and gives us a lot of rest, and also it gives a lot of freedoms. Freedoms that we need in our homes, in our business, in our life are oftentimes answered by just having an SOP. An SOP is a standard operating procedure. At times those are easy to do and sometimes they're not, but there's lots of times wasted in everyday life if we do not have an SOP for a certain issue. This would be a sample of some of the things that I have thinking about how that if Tom would only learn how to get the list of normal stuff done when we open our store, that those are the kind of things that we can actually make that list. We can call it the standard opening procedure. And if Tom would start the coffee pot when he gets here, instead of making us wait, he's probably goofing on his phone or checking out Facebook or whatever. And if Freddie would check the hood light last night before we closed, and he didn't, so now the battery's dead. And now, how long will it take? How long would it have taken to lower the hood? These are kind of examples that cause frustrations just because of no standard operating procedures. So I want to try and build the value to all my listeners here today, how much value there is in having a system, and that system removes all the frustrations that we normally face. Another one that's normal is even the battery charger. It's not at the right place. Maybe it doesn't even have a home. And this is another tip that I would like to give anytime we buy a tool. Try and prepare a home for it before you buy it. Because if you do that first, it's amazing how many things you won't buy. And it's also amazing how ready you are to buy it when you have a home prepared for it. So I think building a home for a new tool, new piece of equipment, I like to have everything marked so that it even has a place, if it's on the floor, that it has a special parking spot, that it has a labeled parking spot, not just a special spot, but one that actually has a label on it. There's a thing that happens automatically when somebody uses a piece of equipment that has a labeled spot. They want to return it to that spot. That's part of the intuition inside of the human, something in our DNA that makes us want to do that. A little bit like when you pull up to a parking spot at Walmart or whatever, most everybody likes to park within the lines. And the same thing applies if you are getting the battery charger and returning it. You want to put it inside the lines, wherever they are. Parts people, it's another frustration. They block the driveways. They have no idea how to deliver parts or what's the right place to go. They just try to find the path of least resistance. Another frustration is Sarah would empty the wastebasket before it's running over. If Tom would charge for all the diagnostic and testing time. These are things that cause frustrations on a daily basis. And I'm sure there's a lot more you thought of that I haven't mentioned, but this gives you an idea of what I'm trying to communicate. So if we had a SOP for consistent customer experience, it'd be wonderful. And it would relate to everything from the arrival procedure, the parking experience, the welcome procedure, the concern and complaint registry, how that's handled, communication through the day, how you communicate, how they would like to be communicated with, if it's text, call, or scream, the pickup procedure, the invoice reviewing procedure, the collection procedure, the next appointment, and the spreading of comments from the text to the customers. Many times that there would be comments if we would only make that happen. It can be something like the fish market or less. Those of you who know the Northwest Fish Market, and I've been there several times just to watch that. But it can go either way. Customers to technicians also have things they would like to share sometimes. And I think there's a right way to make that happen. Frustrations, I think we should have some for emergencies, for all the kind of things that can take place. These are all written. Anybody can handle this. They don't need to call the owner, or they can actually just have the SOPs for these kind of things that are listed here. I'll try not to read all over them, but this is my list for emergencies. And then for maintenance of the shop equipment, this is a very, very, very important one. How to clean the parking lot and when, who does it and how is it done? Is it marked well? And all the things that go with that. Even the procedure, how to deal with the never lefts, hoist inspections, you get it, the daily list and so on. These kind of things, when you have an SOP, it's amazing how much freedom you experience, especially as managers and owners. We have a lot more relaxation that goes along with it because of all these things that are wrote up, and then anybody can use the manual that's related to the problem. So for starters, it can be overwhelming, and I think that to start small is always the best, because that's how you get up a ladder, if you at least do it one step at a time. For a startup list, I would suggest an opening procedure and consistent, the customer communication touch points. How many of those did you project through every job? Because the rule of thumb is the more touch points you have, the happier customer you will have. Whether you believe it's important or not, they love to be communicated with. A text is extremely meaningful. It means the difference of them smiling when they come to pick up the vehicle rather than, oh, can't believe how long this has been. You know, that kind of reaction can be changed just by 2 or 3 texts. Just a small text that says, things are going well in your vehicle, just thought I would let you know. Or just anything like that. It can be light, it can be made up statements. Parking procedures. Very, very critical in all businesses is the parking procedures. I'm of the persuasion there should be 3 parking procedures. One is the drop off, and one is the finished and ready to pick up, and the other is the in progress. And if you have those procedures all lined up, you know exactly where it belongs. I actually have a 4th in my in progress. I have a special place for the QC, or the quality control. I just have 4 spots for that because that gets taken care of usually rather quickly. The quality control procedure. After the technician's all finished, it goes to quality control, and a separate individual will do a quality control test drive and try and examine if there's any fingerprints, or if there's any lids been loose, or any levels are not checked correctly, or if there was a cotter pin removed, he wants to make sure it's there. It's very picky at it, going over the job, and it works really well for us. The write-up procedure, the closing procedure, the hoist inspection. Some of these are easy to write up, and if you have none, these are be some suggestions. You can start with things that are small. The core handling procedure. How cores are handled or how they're not handled can cause lots of frustrations. The storage of keys. I think there should be very few places the keys are stored. They should be stored with the finished, ready to pick up. Invoice is all finished. That has one special storage spot. And when they're dropped off and hung up, that's a different storage spot. And if it's in progress in the shop, that should be a different storage spot. I think it's best and easy to know what position the vehicle is. That way you'll know where the keys are. Consistency. It comes from planting. And until you commit your goals or your SOPs to paper, you just have intentions that are seeds without soil. So I think there is much value in getting the pencil and paper out and making this happen. And this is not something you want to do just on your own. You want to do this with those that you work with. And I think it's especially good with technicians when you design things that are in the shop or things that relate to how they need to get information or answers, that they also can review it. I have a sample for you on that in the end that we can email to you. So how do we remove these if onlys? If only we had an SOP. Create an SOP that resolves the issue. And the if only frustration worksheet. I had this worksheet prepared so Brenda can send it out to you all. And I'll just briefly go over the 7 steps that I use to create an SOP. The first thing is, number 1 is to identify the frustration, if only this wouldn't take place or whatever it is, and give a brief description of what is bothering you. So in the case of, we might just try something very small, similar to like office supplies. So it becomes a frustration if you pulled out the last ream of paper, or maybe the part of the ream, and you're totally out of paper and you need some, and you go there and there's no paper, or if there's no toner, or there's no Scotch tape, the roll is at the end, there was nobody did anything about it. So when the simple stuff is all gone, that can be just an SOP just for that. And you might actually be tempted to blame somebody, and that's what step number 2 is all about, is how to try and make it a system-directed accusation rather than a self-directed or an outer-directed. Because the system-directed it's predominantly the absence of a written system. If it's self-directed, it's myself. Am I really the major cause of this frustration, or am I not? And if it's someone else or something else, how can we restate this so that we can make it a system-directed? That's what I want to really communicate here. Down here's the example. When we say he just doesn't return the part cores after the job is complete, that is blaming it on a person, rather than let's restate it and say part cores are not returned in a timely, orderly fashion due to the absence of a no worries core handling procedure. So invent a no worries core handling procedure for your shop so that every phase is covered. There's no steps unturned, and have all your people work on it together if you need to. And you could just get this thing down to 100% freedom with a light switch. You just institute it and make it happen. I'll give you a couple tips on that too. Number 3, we're going to determine the underlying frustrating business condition first, and we ask specific probing questions, and we ask as many questions as you can to give yourself the best chance of finding the true frustrating condition. This is we want to ask the question, how is my business impacted by this frustration? Because there should be some kind of an answer to that. What are the specific examples of when and where and how this frustration occurs? And if we can't answer all these questions, if some of them don't apply, that's all right, just go on. So I'm going to give you a copy of this in the end. So what are the results I'm not getting in my business because of this frustration? Answering all these questions will help you decide whether or not you want to even fix it. Sometimes you may not even, you decide, you know, I'd rather live with the frustration than write up a system for it. And that's your choice. Step 4, translate the specific frustrating condition into a generic system solution. What kind of system would eliminate this frustrating condition I'm experiencing? What result would have to be produced by a system designed to eliminate this typical frustration? These are deep questions. Sometimes it's very easy to answer, and sometimes you have to think a little. The real problem in my business is the absence of a fully installed system that will give me this rather than the thing I mentioned in step 1. So step 5, that is where we take and affirm our commitment. We are planning to do this. We're going to do something about it, or we're not. We have to make that decision. Number 6 is where the work takes place. This is the good one right here. This is the one that takes the time. And I've given a whole bunch of questions here to make it easy for you to help you write a system that will answer your specific issue. Who will be accountable? What are the main steps? Will any operating forms or documents be needed? Will any scripts be needed? What elements of the management information will be needed? What training will have to take place, if any, and how often? And what enforcement, and so on. How will it be positioned? How will employees be notified? And how will the implementation be rolled out? Will the system have any courtesy checks or follow-ups to see the success rate? And if yes, when? These are the time-consuming parts, writing this up. Step number 6 is the most time-consuming part, but it gives you the most freedom when this is done. I think everybody doing this will actually feel that freedom. So by now you might be thinking, I'm really going to do something about this, but I will tell you and warn you that commitment is the thing you said you would do long after the mood you said it in has left you. So remember that you might not have the mood to do it later like you do now. So my action plan, step 7, that is begin the system design and implementation immediately. The beginning of freedoms. How much do you want? That's my, guess I would say that's my biggest bang for the buck statement. How much freedom do you really want? I can also show you an example of another system that I wrote for just a vehicle that's broke down. And this is the kind of thing that I would go over with the person that my car's broke down, they call for emergency help. These are the kind of things here which covers it all. As far as I'm concerned, I don't know of anything I've missed, but I'm sorry to hear you're having issues. I will do my best to help. My name is Leon and your name is, and then thank you, Mary. Are you in a safe place off the road? Great. With a few questions a few answers to some of my questions, we will be on the way to success addressing this problem. Your phone number in the event we get disconnected is, and what is the main concern? And then you mirror back and say the exact words they said. Anytime and whatever they said, we just need to schedule a tow or haul so we can, where's the vehicle just now? Is it backed in or driven in? Is it easily accessible? Can I get a truck to the front or the rear? What kind of vehicle? What model? And what color? Any trailer involved? Are the keys in the vehicle? Any wheel locking key needed? Any insurance that I can process for you? We can bill later after repairs or service. Next step we will do is assess the problem after it's here and give you a call and inform you of the next step. What's the best 2 numbers to reach you? First number and the second number. And I will arrange a service to come and I will give you a call back to confirm that the help is on the way. Shall I call you on this number? Great, thanks for helping all the info. We'll talk shortly as I get it all arranged. May I call you back and inform you as soon as I get the truck on the way, or would you rather I text you? So you have any questions? I hope to call you shortly. This is the type of thing that I've used over the years that works great in my particular business. So I'm open for your questions or comments if you have any.
You can unmute if you'd like to ask a question or click on the chat button.
I have a question.
Sure.
What are your thoughts about having the team create the systems documentation that they tend to be experts on, and then reviewing that as a team together? Because I'm just thinking for myself, like, oh, can I do it all by myself? But like if I delegate and give everyone who's like an expert in that area, then that not only do they have ownership of it, but then also too, it just spreads the workload. What are your thoughts on that? Do you implement that?
Yes, I do. I can give you an example, and the one that I'm going to have Brenda send out to you is my overheating procedure. because there's so many misunderstandings happen when a car's been overheated. And there's also misunderstandings when a technician is asked to do work on a car that has been overheated and he doesn't know it was overheated. That's another complication. So I had all my technicians and my management work on the overheating procedure together. And we would review it, and we would keep tweaking it till we finally decided we cannot improve it anymore. And I'm still open to have it improved, but nobody has been able to make it better. So I'm going to send that out to everybody, and they all like it. And if that's filled out for any overheating or coolant leaking procedure, coolant leak complaint,
Tomorrow we can probably get
it really helps. So I want to make sure that we all get a copy of that, and you can use it in your business for an overheating complaint or concern.
Awesome. Thank you.
So Leon, this is Dave here. One of the things that I did is really big on SOPs as well. And one of the things I found is the problem with a lot of how-tos is there are people that got to use them. And one of the #1 hindrances in a shop is forgetfulness, not maliciously forgetting, but it just gets busy and hectic in that. And so what are some things that a shop can do to help trigger memory that, hey, here's a timeline on this. This is a weekly checklist. You know, this is a hoist inspection, a compressor drain, or whatever. What are some things that they can do to help trigger their memory?
That's a great question, Dave. And I've talked to different shop owners about that. And here's some of the varying answers I've received. Some of them have a rotating week. This is your week to check all the light bulbs, drain the compressor, and do the whatever. And Pat's is next week, and Bob's the next week, and so on. There's other methods that I think are just as effective, such as you have an SOP, how not to forget. You actually sign, I will have this done by X time, and after it's done, I will give a report to the next higher up. They actually get the tab from Bob. It says he did all these 10 things or 6, whatever it is. There's different methods of coming to that answer, but yes, I agree. The human brain does forget. So we have to try and make an answer for the forgetfulness.
Thank you.
A question, does your company offer like templates, or do you know of a company that offers templates for our field to where we would have a starting point?
There is companies that offer templates. I do not offer any other than the one I had my business name at the bottom or whatever. The way we do, I think, is a company that offers templates for these things. Dave, you might know of somebody that offers templates, or do you do that?
Well, we have a few SOPs and systems and that, and a base place is a great place to start. You know, I haven't heard of anybody that's got a full encompassing SOP manual. Here's an advisor SOP manual, drivability tech, or all that down to the finite details of what those are. Some of that, what I've seen and I did in my own shop, was I started one and then I created another one and duplicated off of it and I was able to use the bullet points off of it. And so they just kind of self-grew them. What I found is when I first started coaching, I would offer that as a product. And what I found is it became really time consuming to walk through even a baseline, you know, something to put out there to bring, you know, clarity and education and why is this here and that. And so I usually tell people to kind of walk through exactly what you've got here, Leon. This is really well thought out. And if they take this template, you'd be amazed that in, you know, if you work on Monday through Friday, 253 working days on average each year, you know, you do one SOP a day, you got a big chunk of them done in the first 12 months. You don't have to, it's not like you're eating the whole elephant at one time, just eat it one at a time, and one bite at a time.
And I would add to that, if we do one a week, you're ahead of all the pack.
Yeah.
You're ahead of all the pack, because there's people are not doing this. They're not getting the freedoms they deserve. And the way we do is a company that I checked into, and they have a lot of templates, but I've found, just like Dave, I pretty much grew my own organically, and I'm offering a sample or so here with Brenda, so that, and I'm offering these questions to you too, so that, because I think the questions are what makes the good SOP, is asking the right questions.
Mhm.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Yes.
So if everybody opens their chat, you will see the two documents that we're referring to.
I have a question here. Do you feel that too many SOPs
Yeah.
takes away from the person's ability to think on their own and learn on the job training?
It's another good question. I have not seen that problem. So if that problem exists, I don't know where it is, where a person has too many SOPs. It's usually the other way around. Some SOPs are just for the front, some are for the back. I will say this, one of the biggest freedoms I had was I wrote up an SOP for the parts delivery parking. I drew up a map, made a copy, so that every vendor knew exactly how to drive, because I did not want anybody to use reverse in any time they come into the property. And my property, it allows me to have a big jug handle turn so that they can make a big loop and never use reverse, because when you use reverse, your accident rate goes up exponentially. And so I had this square, the size of the vehicle, where they park, and it was like a light switch overnight, total freedom. Everybody followed it to the T, even had bear paw marks where they shall follow, and park there here, and then bear paw marks where they walk into the shop. And they all follow it, yet to this day, it's working for years. Just perfect. The new vendor comes on, a new parts person, they've never been here before. They're usually told by the others that they work for how to park. And if it's a brand new person that's never been here before and has no history with us, they will often park the wrong place. And I just give them one sheet of paper. It shows exactly, it has all the simple steps written down there. It's just like that, just like a light switch, it's fixed.
I think someone can answer that question from Brian Rex there, that if you have the employees help create the policies, then it's not near as inundating.
That's
for
right.
them.
That's right. They have
Exactly.
buy-in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Carl. Yes, they do have buy-in.
Great. Any other questions? Well, Leon, thank you so much for coming on. Great information. Really appreciate that. Dave, thanks for throwing in your ideas there too. That's awesome. So, hey, next week, we're doing our lunch and learn on Thursday, same time, same place. And we're going to have PJ Leslie he is from Techmetric, and he's going to be talking about stop selling parts and labor and make more profit. So that'll be on next Thursday. And then the following Thursday after that, we won't be having a lunch and learn because we have ATE, virtual ATE going on. So hopefully you get signed up for that. And I want to thank everyone for being on today and look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks, Leon. Thanks again.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you,
Leon.
everybody.
Great job.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care.
Bye.